Hi guys, this is Annette with Annette's Astrology Corner, and I am in Seattle hiking around trying to discover my new territory. There's lots to discover out here actually. And when I was hiking through this forest to get to the lake, I came across these two trees. And these two trees looked like at one time they'd been one tree, but they'd split into two different trees and were very strong dominant growth in each tree. So like one tree wasn't dominating the other's growth. And so I wondered if they had like separate root systems, because they clearly were two healthy trees. And I could feel the Scorpio energy there, and I almost did the video there. But I feel more of the Taurus connection here, and since this is, the month that is Taurus season, I feel like we should go where it's a little bit prettier and a little bit more appealing, and it's very relaxing, because that's what a Taurus energy really likes, is just that peaceful feeling to receive energy. I feel like that's the best place to talk about changes because we can either be the Scorpio energy and we can be in a state of resistance, which is a kind of what I felt when I was processing the energy this morning. So I want to talk a little bit about the aspects that are going to go on. So we have a new moon on the 15th, and on the new moon, Uranus is going to go into Taurus. Mars is going to go into Aquarius, and we're going to have our new moon all in one day. So that day to me is obviously the biggest day of May, but it's also the biggest day period for us. We have been on a very long journey with discovering our sense of self. We have had every part of our identity dissected, and many parts of it we have disassociated ourselves from, and some parts of us have strengthened some areas in our lives. Well, some parts of our identity need to be strengthened, and those areas are what's going to be who we identify with moving forward in our sense of self that we want to be moving forward, because this is all energy about our future. And even though we have a great deal of planets still in the past, we're going to have Jupiter in Scorpio, we're going to have Saturn in Capricorn. I do feel, and I said Jupiter in Scorpio and Saturn in Capricorn. I do feel like those outer planets are still dragging us and comparing us to our past sense of self, our past mistakes, the past areas where we failed to make good financial decisions, past areas where we weren't, where love took away some of our material possessions, our identity, our strength, and what we value most about ourselves. I feel like many of us were living in a distorted view of ourselves. It was based on how other people had perceived us, and we were trying to become that person. But over the last, I would say, 7 years, 8 years, we have been having just about every area of our identity dissected and probed, and through perceptions. And during that time frame, we've become very critical of ourselves, very critical of others, critical of characteristics we don't like, critical of things that we find appealing, critical of what we value in other people. And I think that as we go into this Taurus season, we are going to try to attain the things that we now want. So what we want to materialize and what we want to take ownership of in our own lives. So there's a part of us that is going to be very honest with ourselves about and we're going to take ownership of the areas in our lives where we can see that we have to change. Like we have to, if we want to get what we want. And I think the biggest motivator in this month is we want something in particular. We want to make a change for the better. We want to be more stable. We want to be happier. We want to feel like we are in control of our own destinies. And there's going to be a conflict with that, because the outer world, the outer forces are going to resist some of this new radical changes that you're making, because I think for people who have been in your life for long periods of times, they're not going to really recognize this change is a good change. They're going to see it as you're breaking free, and you're getting free in areas of your life, and that might make them feel a little bit intimidated. It might make them feel a little bit guarded, like you may want to end things, because you're starting to see things. And so one of the biggest things I wanted to talk about was just our senses and how heightened they are, and how people who once wore deceptive masks can now you can see through them. You can read between the lines. You can feel the intentions of others, and you can feel when they're right and when they're not good intentions. You can sense the vibrations in the air. It's very heightened. It's almost like you have a sixth sense right now of when the energy changes. So when you stand in front of somebody and their energy is trying to entice you to do something you don't want to do, or they have some sort of intent, or they're trying to manipulate you in some way, you just have a heightened sense that those games aren't going to work right now. Because you are very much concerned with the path that you are starting to go in, the goals that you are starting to set, the changes that you are trying to initiate. And that takes a great deal of self-actualization, I think is the word that I'm looking for. You have to be very, very honest with yourself. You have to be honest with your strengths. You have to be honest with your weaknesses right now. And if you're weak in an area, then you have to really focus all of your energy in overcoming that area. And because you're so heightened, and because your basic instincts are raging, right? Because you're just so heightened, and you just got over this full moon in Scorpio, you're probably going to trust yourself most of all, and you're going to have other people at arm's length. That's the way that I feel. I also feel like there's a resistance to everything because it's happening all at once. So Taurus energy likes to do things very slowly, precisely, and you need to be in somewhat control. You need to feel like you're in control. And there are several areas in your life right now where you don't feel like you are in control. I'm going to give you, for instance, this is a wild one, and I hope it works, but I don't know if you can see it in the water. I have an ominous feeling right here. Because as beautiful as this lake is, right? Sorry, it's too fast. I want to just try not to do that anymore. It's this beautiful lake where I'm at. It's this pretty park. And just superficially, it's just a very appealing park, right? But there is a lot that goes on under the surface in this water. It's very deceptive, this spot right here, because as aesthetically pleasing and pleasant as this lake is, if you look out, sorry, I'm going to try not to go as fast. If you look out in the lake, look at that tree. It's just fallen. It is a deep, deep lake here, right? But superficially, you're not going to notice how deep this lake is. And I feel like that's where we're at. We're not going to notice how deep this work is going with people, because there is some deeply emotional, oops, I'm sorry, I'm going to pull this back out so we have a bigger view. So the work that people are doing are in the depths of their soul. They're in the deepest emotional realms. They're dealing with their psychology. They're dealing with their ingrained patterns and automated responses. They're dealing with their fears. They're dealing with their demons. Superficially, we can look at this and think, you know, these are beautiful people. You know, it's a beautiful day. You know, we're talking about spring. The sun is starting to shine more, at least in the US. And so it can appear as though it's like this really pleasant experience where everybody's just having fun. But I guarantee that if you could feel what they feel, it's different. It's deeper than that. It's not just superficially having fun. There's something more to be said for this situation. I feel like the beginning of the month is just all about pushing forward with things. Even though you're resistant, you're not going to get much of a choice because the outer forces are pushing you to make these new changes. And some of them have to do with the way that you appear. Some of them have to do with some financial issues for sure. Some of you have to do with areas in your life where you lack the stability and you're trying to stabilize those areas in your life. And some of them really have to do with the fact that you are trying to find a happier life, a life that sustains you, a life that has more positive than negatives. You want to take control, and you want to find a way to control some of your circumstances. And you're a little further on in your journey, and you know that you have to make changes, and they've been shown to you. And yet these changes just seem so monumental. And because so much is activated on such a deep level, you're having to almost fight yourself to make some of these changes, because there's part of you, like that tree, part of you was very happy, is very happy to go your own way, and a part of you is still connected with your past because, you know, Saturn and Jupiter are sitting there in retrograde. And what's expanding this whole month is the polarity of Taurus energy. So as optimistic as Taurus energy is, as resourceful as it is, as frugal as it is, as clever as it is, as appealing as all of this can feel and be to you to make all these positive changes and do the stuff that obviously is going to enrich your life and change everything for the better, by the way. You feel it, you know it. But there's this Jupiter and Scorpio retrograde experience this month. It is like you're biting the hand that feeds you. It's like there's something you're resisting. And I think that when we get into the 19th of the month, oh, you should see these little guys coming. Oh, hi, little babies. When we get to the 19th of this month, you're going to start to see exactly what I'm talking about. You're going to start to see when Venus goes into Cancer, you're going to start to see that this is going to be a deeply emotional situation for you. So I find it funny because as much as I think Cancer is being a cardinal energy, is a very powerful energy to have. I have it in my natal chart, and so I understand just how positive it can be to be a Cancer, but I also understand the detriment of being a Cancer. The lower vibration of being a Cancer is just very hard to emotionally detach from comfort zones. And Venus, I don't think really likes being in Cancer at all, because basically it's a very sensitive sign, and Venus is dealing with some pretty intense stuff. I mean, it's dealing with money, it's dealing with putting yourself out there, it's dealing with partnerships, it's dealing with appealing, attracting others. And yet Cancers don't stand for any of those things. They're attractive people, and of course everybody likes to attract people, but they have to attract them in a sideways manner. It can't be a head-on, whereas Taurus is subtle but directional. And so there's a lot of energy right now pushing you to do things like put yourself out there. I feel like many of you have detached somewhat socially because you're in protective mode, right? You're in survival mode and you don't feel like connecting with people is beneficial. You don't trust people. And I feel like that is some of the saddest stuff that's been coming out of this energy, is just the fear that people have of other people. The fear of attracting somebody back into their life that has similar characteristics to their karmic patterns that they're letting go of. They don't trust their own judgment. And so as much as you could be probably being very appealing to people and you're attracting the right people into your life, there's a part of you that if you are in a dark place and if you are in a fearful state, you're going to resist even positive people, even people that will make a positive impact. And I'm just going to pull my dog away from, come here, Francis, because you can knock my purse in the water, honey. Sorry about that. Sorry, I was looking at my dog, just make sure he's okay. So I think that many of you are going to start taking control of these areas deep down. I think there's a lot of planning going on. There's a lot of goals that you're going to be initiating in your head, There are a lot of goals that you want to attain that you're going to begin, as of May, starting to initiate action. But they're not as... The complexity of this month is... The sun's going into Gemini. We have a full moon in Sagittarius. When you have mutable energy, it is very hard for a Taurus to work in that energy. It is, although those two energies can probably be very exciting and is really activating our elevated mind as well as our day-to-day mind, our lower thinking mind, our day-to-day tasks in that thing, just our day-to-day decisions. It's going to make you very task-oriented. It's going to make it very easy to just go through the motions of the day. There's a deeper meaning behind this whole month. And that's that Sagittarius full moon. That as superficial as you want these tasks to be, and as much as you're trying to fight the depths of your soul and the depths of your fears and your demons and the criticism that you identify with, that other people have perceived you of, even if it's on an unconscious level, if it's on a deeper level than you're willing to admit, it's in there. And every time you make a change this month, it's going to poke out its ugly head, and you're going to have to push it back down. So the duality that you're going to feel this month is probably going to happen toward the end of the month. It's probably going to happen, like, I would say from the 19th on, there's just some duality in this month that's not going to make you feel very easy. This is not a bad month. This is a month of inner turmoil. There is so much around you that is beneficial. There are so many things that are going to be attracted to you that can enrich your life and transform your situation. There are so many people that want to be a part of your life and want to share your experience and get to know yourself. Even if you're in transition, you don't have to isolate yourself until you're the perfect version of you. You don't have to do that. Everybody's in transition right now. Everybody's working on themselves, and everybody has something that they need to change. And so you don't need to isolate yourself, even if you think that you're protecting them, even if what you feel is that you're the problem. Don't worry about that so much. You're attracting into your life exactly what you need to bring pleasure into your existence. And as long as your pleasure, as long as you're not a fear-based person, you're going to be attracting the right things, the right energy. I love, you know what, I don't have that with me. There's a subject I started just all of a sudden researching, and it just came out of nowhere, and it's just transmuting energy, and I was very fascinated by it. Because energy is always moving and changing into different forms. And you could look at your failures as changing and transmuting into success if you really want to. You can look at upgrading your life, you know, leveling up, setting the bar higher. And you can attain these things no matter how many failures you've had in the past, no matter what you think about who you used to be, no matter what people think about you. It's not, you're on your journey, and this is a very, it's not a selfish time. Oh, my dog's laying right. I don't know why he likes, oh, he likes my coat to lay on. He's such a little princess. Sorry. I just don't want him to knock my purse into the water. That would be bad. So what you value has changed, yet you still resist the changes you need to make, because they are challenging some of your comfort zones. And I don't want you guys to get caught up in that. That's that energy that happens from the 19th on. And even probably a few days before that. Many of you are very sensitive to energy. So you're probably going to be feeling it coming all month, but you're going to start really feeling the impact of that come the end of the month. So the change is there. The change is coming. You sense it. You feel it. Your spidey senses will not leave you alone. And you know the areas, and sorry, I'm going to just grab my coat because I don't want him knocking that in the water. Friends, you're peeing right now. I'm sorry about that. You guys want to see him? Here, Francis. Francis, look at your camera. See him? Francis. Hi, Bubba. Sorry. When did you see him? I feel like some of you have become some of you are trying to resist by hiding from what's going on. You all sense the changes. So some of you, if you are still struggling with the dynamic of your Chiron energy and the dynamic of that Neptune and Pisces energy, where you're having a hard time letting go of where you were connected and identified with illusions, and you haven't forgiven yourself for some of the decisions you made when you were not seeing things clearly. You were looking through rose-colored glasses. If you're not in a forgiveness mode of yourself, if you can't let go of some of the decisions, then this is going to be a really hard month for you, because the changes are coming whether you want them or not. And they're all positive. There's nothing bad about what's going to happen to you. The change always has an element of risk, and there's always an element of the unknown, and it does set off a cascade of events, a chain of events that lead you in different directions. So that can be where some of you might feel like your spidey senses are going off, and so you're dreading it. But what you're dreading is the change, just the knowing that your comfort zones are never going to be the same again, that they're changing. You don't really have comfort zones. I don't know many people that have really, really comfortable areas in their lives. For most people, money is going to fluctuate radically and unexpectedly. I think that stability, areas where we thought were stable, we're going to be surprised by what isn't stable. What is a false sense of security. I feel like many people who thought that they were very strong are finding out that there is just actually there's an underlying weakness, and that actually they're working on a lot more of their fear-based mindset than they realized. And all of this stuff is beginning to become apparent. And we're having to take some ownership of the fact that if we want to attract people, if we want to be attractive, if we want to appeal to the opposite sex or the same sex, if we want some companionship in our lives, if we want some love in our lives, we got to make changes. Yes, people should accept you the way you are, but let's get real. People have attraction levels, and people like what they like. And if some of you have been sitting there blaming the fact that you just aren't attractive, and so you can sit there and eat. Who cares? Because you don't have a partner, you don't have anybody who cares about your weight. You don't have anybody probably because you don't care enough about yourself And that's very apparent through the perceptions of others. So if you don't care about yourself, you're not going to attract anybody who cares about you. You understand what I'm saying? Like, it's the law of attraction. So if you want to change your life, and if you want to appeal to attract a partner, or to attract success, or to attract money, you've got to make changes in your life to bring those things to you, to attract that energy to you. Think of it like, think of it like when you're feeding ducks and you're throwing ducks into the water, you're throwing bread into the water, and the ducks are really far off and it doesn't look like they're paying attention to you. But as soon as you throw it in the water, they sense it and they come running over. It's because you threw the bread in the water that attracted them to you, that they came to you. I know it's kind of like a lame one, but I can't think of anything else. You have to take responsibility. You have to take ownership for the fact that if you are suffering from health problems and they're related to weight, if you are suffering from financial problems and they're because you don't know how to manage your money, you are impulsive with money, you don't have a financial strategy, if you have had several bad karmic relationships, all of these things are making you aware of very specific things in your life, and you are acutely awakened to what these areas are, and you have the answer sitting right before you. Come the full moon in Sagittarius, it's going to be obvious to you what's going down. Like, it's going to be obvious that if you've been wondering about something and you've been searching and you've been trying to figure things out, you're going to attach to an energy higher than we can understand on this planet. There's a spiritual awareness that's going to happen with that full moon. And that full moon, the energy is really positive this month. There are negative aspects, but those are for people living in fear. For the most part, if you're looking for a resource, if you're looking for money, if you're looking for investors, if you're looking for ways to become more appealing, they're going to be everywhere. There's going to be signs. Your senses are going to sense all of those different areas. You are intuitively going to be led to every resource you need, but you need to be a receiver. You can't close down your reception to this time of awareness. You can't be fearful of it. You can't put up walls. You can't hide from them, because then you're not going to receive the gifts that are out there, and they're plentiful, and I can feel them. I can feel good things right around the corner. They're just not right here yet. They're not exactly the way we want them, because we've got to do the work. And that is an area where I feel like some of us really struggle with, is just that commitment to do the actual work that it takes. And it's work that we're going to have to do over long periods of time. For some of us, if we're in patterns where we're not financially frugal, if we are in patterns where we spend money based on gratification, and we're not used to setting long range goals to attain the finest quality of an item, it's going to take a lot of discipline, and you are going to have to learn to live on a budget, and you are going to have to learn how to create a pattern in your life where you are setting the bar to the finest qualities, to the most elite, successful things in your life, where you're trying to you want to level up. We've been suffering long enough. And yeah, there are outer forces that are always going to test us. But that just makes us stronger and makes us more determined to take back the control and to start to either live a much more frugal life and be happy with less and be sustained with less, but have a better quality of life, or if we really, really want some, then we're gonna have to make some very serious goals to get it. Anyhow, guys, thank you so much for watching Annette's Astrology Corner, and I look forward to talking to you guys again real soon.